Welcome back, warrior. We are still without a treadmill. So here we go. We are reading 2 Kings chapter 4, and it's Elisha multiplies the widow's oil. He promises a son to a Shunammite woman. The child dies and is raised to life by Elisha. He makes the poisonous food harmless, and bread and grain are multiplied for the people to eat. Okay, so here we go. Sorry that we are not moving. Hopefully we will not get sleepy. So here we go. Verse 1. Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant, my husband, is dead. And thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. And Elisha said unto her, What shall I do for thee? Tell me what thou hast, or what hast thou in the house? And she said, Thine handmaid hath not anything in the house, save a pot of oil. Then he said, Go borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels, borrow not a few. So that means like a lot. So borrow not a few. That's a good way to say not like a lot. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out into all those vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. So she went from him and shut the door upon her and upon her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass, when the vessels were full, okay, we don't know where she's pouring out, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, There is not a vessel more. And the oil stayed. Then she came and told the man of God, and he said, Go sell the oil and pay the debt, and live thou and thy children of the rest. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to, okay, so that was the first miracle. And he was helping her. He was helping her to become an entrepreneur there. Don't you wish that we could have those kind of miracles? And but actually, I think the Lord allows us to have those miracles if we're willing to put the work in, right? So what kind of work is the Lord prompting us to do where he can provide for us in this way, to provide for our children and our family? So anyway, some ideas there. I don't want to sell oil, no. But a lot of people do, like doTERRA and stuff. I mean, there you go. This is not an ad, by the way. Okay, verse 8. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed. So this is a new story. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. We're going to turn this over. To eat bread. And so it was that as oft as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, Behold, I perceive that this is an holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. That's awesome. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall, and let us set it for him there, a bed and a table and a stool and a candlestick. And it shall be, when he cometh to us, that he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and he turned into the chamber and lay there. And he said to, Gehazi, his servant, Call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him. And he said unto him, Say now unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for thee? Wouldst thou be spoken for to the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily, she hath no child, and her husband is old. And he said, Call her. And when he had called her, she stood in the door. And he said, About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, Nay, my lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. And isn't that interesting that because she didn't have a child and she was married and her husband was old, isn't it interesting that he would bless her with a child? And like, lots of thoughts come to mind. The first one being that the Lord knows us. The Lord knows us and knows the deepest desires of our heart. And even if she didn't mention it to him, he knew because the Lord had told him what she wanted, what she needed. Now, you might take it a different way and say, just because she doesn't have a kid, she might not want a kid. And then there's something else, which is a blessing, right? Children are a blessing to us. And whether you think it is or not, you will know later on. Like you'll know that children are a blessing to you. So anyway, then it says that, but she said, "Don't lie to me," right? Which means that's like, don't tease me, don't lie to me. Like, I know that I'm not capable of having a child at this time, which means that she would have wanted it. So that's how I take that sentence, right? Like, don't tease, don't lie, like don't mess with me. Like, that's not cool, right? Like if you're gonna promise me I'm gonna have a kid, I better have a kid. Like that. Like, if you struggle with infertility, you know that you cannot be lied to this way. And so the fact that she responded this way means that she really did want a child. So anyway, then we have verse 17. And the woman conceived and bare a son at the season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life. So amazing, right? I just love that. Okay, I always love it when prophets bless women to have children. That's my favorite. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, my head, my head. And he said to the lad, carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then he died. Oh, I hate it when children die, you know. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God and shut the door upon him and went out. And she called unto her husband and said, send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the donkeys, that I may return to the man of God and come again. And he said, wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, it shall be well. Okay, so now her son's dead, and her husband's like, oh, but it's not this day or this day. Like, you can't go see the prophet if it's not those days. I guess back in the day, you couldn't visit a prophet or whatever on a different day. So she was like, it's going to be fine, right? And then she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, drive and go forward, slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. So normally donkeys ride slower if there's women on there, just because, you know, we don't want to go crazy. But then also she was old, right? She was older. And so he was probably, says like her servant was probably trying to be kind and like would normally go slow for her, but she was like, no, this time you're going to drive fast. So she went and came unto the man of God to Mount Carmel. And it came to pass when the man of God saw her afar off, and he said to Gehazi, his servant, behold, yonder is that Shunammite. Run now, I pray thee, to meet her, and say unto her, it is well with thee. Is it well with thy husband? Or is it well with thee? Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with thy child? And she answered, it is well. And when she came to the man of God to the hills, she caught him by the feet. But Gehazi came near to thrust her away. And the man of God said, let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her. And the Lord hath hid it from me and hath not told me. Okay, so now we don't know why she is coming to the prophet. And she was hoping that the prophet would know, right? But then she said, did I desire a son of my Lord? Did I not say, do not deceive me? Okay, so now she's coming back and like, I can't believe you gave me a child, kind of thing. Like, and now this is happening. And didn't I tell you I didn't want one? And didn't want you to deceive me. Not that she didn't want one, but like that she didn't want to be tricked. Then he said to Gehazi, gird up thy loins and take my staff in thine hand and go thy way. If thou meet any man, salute him not. For any salute thee, answer him not again, and lay my staff upon the face of the child. Okay, so He's like, okay, now go see the kid. If anybody tries to say hi to you, ignore them. Maybe because he's used to saying hi to everybody. And the mother of the child said, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And he arose and followed her. And Gazi passed on before them and laid the staff upon the face of the child. But there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him and told him, saying, the child is not awakened. And when Elisha was come into the house, behold, the child was dead and laid upon his bed. He went in therefore and shut the door upon them twain and prayed unto the Lord. And he went up and lay upon the child and put his mouth upon his mouth. Okay, so CPR. And his eyes upon his eyes and his hands upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned and walked in the house to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him. The child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. Wow. Okay, maybe like that's some other kind of CPR, you know what I'm saying? And he called, this is like miracles of the Lord CPR. And he called Gehazi and said, call this Shunammite. So he called her, and when she was come in unto him, he said, take up thy son. Then she went in and fell at his feet and bowed herself to the ground and took up her son and went out. And so he was healed. He was brought back to life. What a miracle, you know? So anyway, love that miracle from Elisha. And then she basically left. Okay, so then verse 38. And Elisha came again to Gilgal, and there was a dearth in the land, and the sons of the prophets were sitting before him. And he said unto his servant, set on a great pot and seed pottage for the sons of the prophets. And one went out into the field to gather herbs, and found a wild vine, and gathered thereof wild gourds, his lap full, and came and shred them into the pot of pottage, for they knew them not. So they poured out of the men to eat. Man. And it came to pass, as they were eating of the pottage, that they cried out and said, O thou man of God, there is death in the pot. And they could not eat thereof. But he said, then bring meal. And he cast it into the pot. And he said, pour out of the people, that they may eat. And there was no harm in the pot. Oh man, my nose. And there came, okay, so then there was something, porridge was causing bad porridge in the pot. But Elijah made it better. Okay, so then 42, and there came a man from Baal Shalisha, and brought the man of God bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley, and full ears of corn. Sorry, my back. In the husk thereof. And he said, give unto the people that they may eat. And his servitor said, what should I set this before 100 men? He said again, give the people that they may eat, for thus saith the Lord, they shall eat and shall leave thereof. So he set it before them, and they did eat and left thereof, according to the word of the Lord. Okay, so the one thing that I was wondering was about the poisonous stew. So it sounded like there was a bunch of poison because they ended up grabbing bad gourds. And that seems like what that was. And this could either be, they talked about death because it was either super bad that it would make them sick, or like that it tasted super terrible. Because you know your kids have said these things like, your food is disgusting. At least they've said this to me. And so you probably have kids that have more decency and are kinder than mine that say that things are gross. So anyway, hopefully you do, because it's not nice when they say that. Anyway, so then Elisha then asked for meal and flour and cast it into the pot, and then the stew was miraculously made edible, right? So something that this could help us is like, we can look at our wards or quorums or classes, maybe even families, and this Same way, are there some who cause bitterness? Elisha's solution was to add that which was wholesome and nourishing in order to make the whole pot of stew better rather than to pick all of the bad stuff out, right? The Lord can always help us with figuring things out and how to deal with people. But the more good, rather than spend time sifting out the bad stuff. And notice when Elisha's stew, that the plant was once bitter and terrible to eat, then became itself edible and was still part of the stew. So there's that. Okay, and then the last one was that the man brought Elisha his first fruits of his harvest as an offering, and since it seemed that the famine was still occurring, there were many who could use this food. So Elisha said, "Give unto the people that they may eat." So this servitor or attendant asked how the offering could possibly serve 100 men. Elisha's response was simply to give the people that they may eat, that they shall eat and shall leave thereof. Or in other words, the Lord said that they will eat and there will be enough so that some is left behind. And just like when the Lord multiplied the loaves and the fishes, it was made so. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to read our Read It, Live It for today. This is it. And it says, and the oil stayed. She poured until there were no more vessels. The miracle matched her preparation. Ooh, I love that. Make room for more. Okay. And then, we have two actually this chapter. This one says, it is well with thee. So her child had died, but she said, it is well. That's what faith sometimes sounds like. Use the language of faith. Okay, until 2 Kings chapter 5, stay strong, warrior.